cubes. We just had to wait for 1 minute. And what is 1 minute, realistically? We can be that patient. It doesn't matter.
High levels of water found.
It's like, I'm sorry, but you're playing a game with like no multiplayer player base. You've got to be just a little patient sometimes, and that's okay. Man. Got a nice chasm of death here. Spires of doom, whatever you want to call them. Scavenger found it over here. What did he find? Ooh. People found some actually good spots so far, I think. We could grab some of that. Oh man, I'm really trying to find some iron though, because I wanted to play a little more scientific. Well, somebody found some. Not good stuff though. A little more carbon. I guess we can use this, but man, it's not good. What's this? This map, guys. What is with all these terrible maps? Like, used to be I would look at this and think it was an okay map. Like, maybe a couple months ago at this point I would do that. But these days, I can identify it as kind of just a terrible map. Alright. I guess we can see if we can make it work. This is gonna be kind of weird, but whatever. I think we can just go ahead and take the iron and aluminum, since prices haven't moved around that much. Actually, we could have just taken 2 aluminum, potentially, because aluminum's price has gone up ridiculously. We're gonna have to wait for that to come down before we can expand, probably, which means we might need to actually grab a claim. Claims are currently going for 2,000. Maybe that'll be doable. This patent. Nobody's going to want that who's paying attention to the map. Guys, we've probably already lost this game because we took too long to figure out what to do with this map, but we'll try and play it out anyway. This scientific player found a reasonable spot. He's trying to move into farms. That could work out pretty well for him. Aluminum's on the way down. Back down, which shouldn't be any real surprise. We've got some aluminum coming in here, some water. This guy's got some steel, some aluminum. Yeah, okay. This is all kind of more or less okay. Claims jumped up to 3 before we could get to 1. We'll go ahead and take it in this particular scenario and just grab a little more aluminum income to make sure we're going to be able to push for that upgrade. Easier to do as a robot than anyone else, I think, is push for that extra claim because you don't have to worry about glass's price moving around too much. You just need to worry about steel and aluminum, and that's it. That's all you have to focus on. So, in my opinion, just a little bit easier. Alright. Get this steel down. That's pretty much all the steel we can support. Hopefully we can make it work. It's not good, but hopefully we can make it work. I know, X-Jammer. Like, but X-Jammer, take a look at this map. Like, first of all, we've got this, right? First of all, we've got this. And then we've got some decent patches of water and a lot of ice. So water shouldn't be too much of an issue this game, and I went ahead and went robotic anyway. But look at this iron. Like, this is iron here, and then we've got, like, a little patches of iron here, and, like, the iron is so spread out and bad. Like, there's a little bit there. And even the carbon, like Niven found a triangle of carbon and just threw down on it. He took that gamble. And a lot of people, I really hate when people get rewarded for taking that particular gamble. That's just my thing. Because he took a gamble and was like, man, there are 3 carbon tiles right next to each other here with a patch of water going. And it's like, I guess maybe that'll work for you. And then it happened to work, of course. Because there was nothing better on the map anywhere. And I really want map... I really hate how the found works, and it might need to change before I keep playing this game before too much longer. Alright, carbon's super cheap, so we're going to use that to get up a couple wind turbines, which should be pretty useful. Oh, look, we already have an AI player because that's how bad the map is. AI Asimov. Bradbury, Clark, and Herbert are all still in the game, so that's nice. Could grab a little silicon here. Everybody's kind of gotten in the way at this point to keep it from being good, but... Alright, computer, have fun, I guess. I mean, it can work right now. It's not the worst thing ever, because power is so extremely expensive, but I don't want to shackle myself to water for the duration of the game is the thing. This guy can do it because he's got this giant patch of water, right? He can make it work. Tell you what, I'm actually going to respond by just doing this. I have 2 claims left I really need to figure out what to do with. I kind of want silicon, but I can't get adjacency bonuses on the silicon because everybody else beat me to them because that's how the game works these days. But I can maybe move into some fuel as well. Just 1 fuel tile isn't great, but it's usable. And I can't really do anything else at the moment. So we'll just go with the fuel. Or we could just move into food right away and keep moving into food. Let's do it. I'm not seeing too much food. Oh no, there's trio of food down there from Bradbury, aka Bullfighter, who apparently just has the 1 play, as far as I can tell. Another option is to just go into glass, but this guy's already got a little glass production down. Does anybody else have glass? No, everybody else has other things. Fine, we'll just do glass. I'm being super indecisive about all of this, and I regret none of that.
New directives received and confirmed.
We have a little silicon coming in, not enough to cover our glass costs, but hopefully enough to work with. I'd love to push for this claim. I have nowhere near enough stuff for it right now, though, so we'll just keep adding on to our glass furnaces for the time being. Food might have been okay to move into. I was expecting a little bit more of a food commitment from the various people who had food. Did I seriously get underground nuked? My silicon actually got underground nuked. Off in my corner, doing my own losing the game things, and then my silicon goes and gets nuked. Well, fine. It's power production now. At least as soon as I can make it power production, it'll be power production. There we go. Steel is not quite losing money because all of that is power cost, and frankly, power's not that expensive. Yeah, fine. I'll just leave steel up for the time being. Maybe I should have done food. Maybe I could do some water. Maybe I could just take this tile and this tile and be like, hey, I've got water that I can turn into carbon. We'll see if we can make that work. Let's see. I really want to nuke again. Like, pushing to a claim is almost certainly the better option. And that's what I'll go ahead and do because it is probably better. But man, do I want to throw a nuke at someone. Just a revenge nuke. To be like, I hate that you nuked me. That would be it. That's literally it. Just the I hate that you nuked me. As far as it goes. Okay, Thinking Machine's not a huge deal this game because you don't have Offworlds to protect a whole lot. I don't know what we can do to actually win this game besides try and play out the long game. Obviously, we have the highest stock price right now because we have very little debt because power's been doing reasonably well, and we've had more of it than most people. Man, this steel. Steel's actually needs to get turned off at this point.
14,016.
And like Thinking Machines is still strong enough because we have a couple of scavengers in the game. And so I think we still do need to go ahead and take it for even 18,000. It might be worthwhile. That also lets us more easily move into things like the patent lab, things like the engineering lab, and try and make it work, which is what I'm going to try and do next, is move into stuff like that. I really wish our silicon hadn't gotten nuked, though. That just hurts. It hurts me in the hurt place. Because it means our glass isn't doing well, and we really should have just moved into food. Because these guys, I saw them building food. I thought they would commit to it so much harder than they did, though. Now, Bradbury's probably going to buy one of them before long, because that's the bullfighter strategy from what I've seen. Those are still just need to be turned off, because steel's getting surplus, which is awful for us. I'm trying to push to the 60 glass that I need in order to go ahead and throw down farms. There we go. Instead of these glass furnaces. Oh, come on. I should have expected that the price would get destroyed eventually. Fine. Tell you what. Then we'll just sell the glass. The furnaces were getting bad anyway. This guy's already in furnaces. We didn't have silicon coming in. We'll just move into reactors. We've got the patent lab. Let's get started on carbon scrubbing so we've got it later once electronics are actually high in price. I knew food was going to tank because what was happening was Bradbury was artificially supporting it by just having never sold out of it. And I knew that. I knew that for a fact. And I ignored it. Ignored it completely because I'm an idiot. Okay, carbon's doing very well again. I would love to push for an upgrade before long here. Let's go ahead and shut down these guys' reactors. We've got steel production, but man, it's just not good this game. It's just not good steel. Partially because our other players who are using steel and consuming steel are playing very slowly. Like, we knew Bullfighter, aka Bradbury, was going to act that way. I'm almost certain this is Bullfighter. Because that's his game plan. But then the fact that this guy turned into a computer also kind of hurt, because computers are just kind of bad.
Improving efficiency.
And it was all rather unfortunate. Now, we can try throwing down... Okay, repair that. Won't stay down for too long, so that's more or less okay. We can get a little more carbon. My concern about that is we've already got some potential for carbon here, which we actually are going to just turn into carbon now. Chem short, we can't use too much, but we can buy into a little bit and maybe be okay. And then we'll try and, I think, at that point, move into electronics production now.
Scientific colony expanded.
Sure, just sell out of it. That's fine. That's actually a pretty darn good tile for us, so I'll take it if I can. EMP on my steel shouldn't be any real surprise. Yeah, electronics still not going to do a whole lot for us in the short term, but once we have carbon scrubbing, they should be okay. I'll push for it, that's fine. Power has still never come down this game, kind of the way you would expect. I imagine most people have just kind of been sitting there riding it and just barely hanging on rather than really pushing into it hard. Tell you what, if Chem's going to short like that, I'll move into some chems, sure. Unfortunately, our steel is frozen, which hurts quite badly, but we've got carbon coming in. Hopefully we'll be okay. Carbon scrubbing is back on its way. We're relying on thinking machines pretty heavily to not have to worry about the black market too much, which means we should actually buy up aggressive black market actions when we can pull it off. We would get munied. It's actually the most painful. Our steel's coming back online. Niven's halfway to buying us, but Herbert's already starting to buy into Niven. And we've just been struggling to stay in this game at all since this wretched found happened. Thankfully, with steel back online, with any luck, we'll manage to start pulling back into it. Niven's bought significantly into himself. That's fine. Our stock price is kind of lower than I expected it to be. Maybe just because we don't have many things down in general. Let's go ahead and get an engineering lab established. Do I just go all out on chems for the time being and then try and move into electronics later? Another mutiny on what this time? On my solar panel. Bradbury is also in AI at this point, and this explains a lot. His plan didn't work, and so he just left. That's fine, I guess. More chems there. Niven's halfway to being able to buy us, but we're probably not his immediate concern right now. So with any luck, that's acceptable. Power's still totally nuts. I really should have made more power at some point. Another thing I could do is just go for perpetual motion to kind of cut down our power costs. Unfortunately, we did not make it to carbon scrubbing because we were relying too much on thinking machines to make it happen, and I didn't identify the fact that this guy had a patent lab down at all. That's all he went for, was carbon scrubbing, and then he left. So let's see what else we can do with this. Nanotech actually would be a good idea, I think. Nanotech could help out quite a lot, so we'll go for that. Now I'm sitting on about, well, a significant amount of money, but not enough to actually finish anything off. Okay, how much do I need if I wanted to do a shift buy? 170,000 is what I would require for a shift buy. These chem labs are losing money at this point. That happened very quickly. So let's go ahead and turn them off. I'd love to get to nanotech before actually making a transition, but it's just not going to happen.
Freelance pirates are auctioning their services.
This guy moved into an engineering lab. I mean, chems will come back up, but I was expecting fuel to stay down a little bit lower, and then it just didn't. Even though there's all this fuel production down. Okay, let's make sure this central one is turned on. We'll just leave Niven as he is, and we'll leave everything else as is for the time being. They're just useless tiles now. That's all they are. It's useless tiles. Manpower's costing me a lot. I guess that's what I could move them into instead, is I could try and get to some power production, but that's not even all that good, quite frankly. What can I catch with this? I can catch silicon with this. Ew, and there's a chem surplus. That'll help. Never mind then. Never mind on the leaving as is part. We'll just turn all of it off. And our power's getting hit again. This is ridiculous. Okay, fine. I'd love to get into power, but we don't have the silicon to do it. We could try and add... We could just throw down a bunch of wind turbines in the short term. Quite frankly, it might be our absolute best bet, is to just be like, hey, wind turbines literally everywhere. It's not a lot of power, but it's more than nothing. Go ahead and goon it. Try and stay alive. 100 180,000. Niven's almost to the point where he can flat out buy us, which is definitely a bit of a concern right now. So I don't want him to do that. And our stock price is very low. So I'll tell you what, I'll just commit all my money to buying myself. We'll figure out this whole issue in a bit. Yeah, and he's still halfway to buying us because our debt is just so high. With any luck, the black market will kind of veer away from us from this point forward, and maybe we'll be okay. Because we have one game plan to stay in the game, and it's not a very good one, but it's all we've got, so it's what we're going with. Carbon's still doing well. We're selling off some silicon. These wind turbines aren't great, but they're better than anything else we could do right now because they are at least paying off our debt. Which is so high, thank you, being a robotic player. 163,000 for the buy. We are going to manage to get to nanotech, which is good. With any luck, we can go into electronics production before too long here. Maybe even instead of the steel for the time being, with iron being this expensive. How much would I need? I would need, let's see, it's 20 steel for electronics? No, it's 40 steel. Okay, so if I want to put 6 down, I need 240 steel to actually pull that off. It's still a reasonable thing to do, I think, but kind of difficult nonetheless. We'll leave the power on for the moment. We can even just superconductor it, actually, if we're going to stick to this game plan.
Let this be a lesson to you all. Screw with us.
Because it's not even coming down, because we're not really making that much. We just threw down on the tiles we could, was all. Okay. Steel's valuable. Aluminum's really not. I should sell some of that down. But we're going to go ahead and get out of the production so we can start making electronics, and we'll figure it all out later. Because we've been upgrading electronics, it's very important for us to be able to actually use them. Commit one more into that electronics production. And let's see if anybody... Yeah, okay, we have to shut this down. If we can. Probably going to get EMP'd for that because it reminds them, hey, come black market me. But it's the best we could do. Food is very nice as well. With any luck, I was kind of hoping they would move into food more than electronics, but that's not the obvious play, so it's not what they did. Okay. I could let that go to Asimov fairly comfortably, but that's okay. 197,000 to pick off that player. Sell down some carbon. Okay. 199,000. Yeah, his stock price is unfortunately going up fairly rapidly at this point. Now, these wind turbines aren't going to be nearly so valuable in a moment here because power is finally on its way down. So we can go ahead and maybe scrap out of some of them and move into... I should have waited for nanotech for that. I've got it in like 2 seconds. Oh no, I already have nanotech. I didn't have superconductor yet. That's what's going on there. Thankfully that lets us sell a significantly large amount of carbon. 132,000 is what we're sitting on right now. The electronics production is reasonable. Obviously we have to spend carbon for it. We have to spend silicon for it, which is the big issue. But it's still working. The food production's coming in just fine. This patent lab... We could get perpetual motion. Might not be the worst thing ever. These could maybe turn into steel mills right now. I really shouldn't leave them as power, but I don't know exactly what to do with them, so I just haven't. Okay. I really just want to get the Control-Shift-Buy on Bradbury so nobody gets in my way. It's still a little ways away, and unfortunately we are getting hit by power surges. But we might still be able to carry it through. Let's just get a little bit more food down. Shoot. Food's still real good. Why stop food? Other people attacking each other is absolutely fantastic and exactly what we want to see. 205,000 out of 224. Well, if we start on it, we'll be able to do the shift buy at some point. Is something to consider. 221. 209. 194. There's a glass short, which is important to look out for. 179. There. Yep, this was Bullfighter doing his exact one strategy that he has. That's fine, I guess. Not a big deal. We could move into more steel production. Iron's a bit on the expensive side, though. So I don't know if it's a good idea. I'd love to get Asimov purchased before long to try and once again stay in this game as best as I can. This glass production is going to work very well because it's scientific on top of silicon. So that might have actually been just the computer deciding, hey, this would be a nice play. I'm going for it. Try and buy up Asimov here if we can. 143,000 is what that requires. Now, unfortunately, with water going this nuts, our food's not going to be that great. But we can go ahead and move into a little more water instead of this fuel production. And that should help out a bit. We'll leave this fuel production down because it's scientific and I don't really want to scrap it. 147,000. That's what it takes for us to finish off that Asimov purchase. We're going to push for it as absolute best as we can. Could go back into chem production. Oh, what's Niven upset about? I don't even... Whatever. Not my problem. Upgrade some glass production. Upgrade some water production. The food is mostly bad at this point. We'll leave that center one on. Where are we getting our steel from? Here and here and here. Man, computers suck. Okay. 156,000. Are we there? Not quite. We're almost there. Niven's really pushing to finish it off. Okay. Now we have all this steel. And this steel is darn good, let me tell you. Darn good steel. That's exactly the word I want to go for. Darn good steel. Now, we could push for an Offworld, but once again, steel's still kind of expensive. The only thing to really send is oxygen, and it's not even all that good. Thankfully, we have an Offworld because somebody decided to build one for us, which makes that decision a little bit easier. And we already have thinking machines to go along with it. We have a pleasure dome down. I guess we could just research virtual reality instead of leaving this tile sitting here. Slant drilling is also another definite option, so we can go ahead and queue that up even. And so we don't forget it later, and that'll be working for us quite well. Teleportation, also quite solid potentially. We'll try and work for that. 627,000 is what we require to finish off Niven. Electronics is okay. Food's really not. These could turn into reactors. Steel is... Ah, man. Fine. You know what I'm going to do? Fine. I'll just get out of these. Which aren't all that good. They're more or less just okay. Get down this iron production, because sheesh, guys. And let's short some steel. Because I think this guy was a scavenger who acquired a scavenger. So with any luck, this will work out reasonably well. Let's go ahead and toss... Let's just do this. Hey, it worked reasonably well. Alright, cool. I wasn't expecting... Oh no, I should have expected that because he just acquired that person. So of course they're not defended. I know this. Why am I being ridiculous about this whole thing? Oh man. I guess it's still worthwhile to send oxygen, but not very. We could go ahead and make that move in reactors. These farms can turn back on. We already have some number of reactors down. Let's just upgrade oxygen production. We know he's going to want to be sending it, so we can take advantage of that fairly effectively. And is it worthwhile to put down an Offworld? How much does it cost? 69,000 to put down an Offworld. So probably not. I mean, that's at least like 3 sends to actually be profitable, probably. Well, we can try it. I guess we can try it. Like, this farm doesn't really need to be here. Did our Offworld get blown up? Yes, it did. Let's repair it. It's not that expensive. Steel's still coming in cleanly. We can even upgrade steel production to kind of help out with this.
The black market is online.
And let's even just throw the other one down here. Like, if I'm going to go for this, I may as well actually go for it and get down plenty of them. If I'm going to make the commitment that they're going to be valuable, then I may as well do it. If I'm going to assume they're going to be valuable, you get my point, hopefully. Hopefully I'm not just going nuts in my corner here. Okay, get all that down. That's all fine. And these, I guess we can turn all these into reactors. Yep. Steel shortage. We'll drive that up. I don't know how much he actually drove that up for me, but whatever. Get down some chem production. Shoot. Like, if oxygen's getting sent, it means we'll have a surplus of fuel in the game, so hopefully the chem production will work out reasonably well. Because people will be beefing up their oxygen production quite a lot in order to kind of help out with that. Oh, and the other guy just left, so we win. That's reasonable. I think we had it wrapped up. It was just going to take a little while to finish. Sorry, okay. Well, whatever. I mean, kind of lackluster end to the stream, I guess, but that is going to be the last game. We can look at what happened and why I was able to recover. So here's what happened. Cubes and Nixon got into it with each other after their reasonably strong starts. And in particular, well, they were just fighting each other instead of picking off weaklings that game, when there were definitely weaklings to be picked off, right? And I feel like if I had gotten brought down as the robotic player at super low debt, like there were things they could have done that game. 2000 AD, that's not Qubit, that's somebody else. But basically, we were allowed to sit in our corner because we were losing so badly. Nobody bought us up. 2 players turned themselves into computers because they were like, ah, screw this, and just left. Yeah, exactly. So those 2 players basically, like, Nixon went after Cubes. Right? Nixon went after Cubes. And then Cubes had to defend himself. Now, I think the mistake Cubes might have made was actually in the particular situation he was in. I understood his general gameplay, and it was reasonable. But, he got to a stage when he was getting attacked. From what I could tell, Cubes had the dominant production. I don't think Nixon had anything he could do. And these other 2 players, at some point, both took themselves out of the game, and then I was out of contention for buying stock for a very long time. So Cubes, I think, was safe at one point to just go for Nixon and kill him, right? Instead of buying up his own stock, I think Cubes could have killed Nixon instead. And that way that fight is a lot shorter, and it lets you kind of propel yourself back into the game and not waste so much money in just dealing with all that. Because all that ended up happening that game, right, was I was kind of just petering along. Power, I buy up my own stock, so my stock starts recovering. I get down a lot of power, so I'm actually managing to pay off debt with power fairly effectively, even though it was all really, really bad power. And then I managed to buy out the weakling and the weakling, and then I'm on through, right? Yeah, and Nixon says he didn't even see the base in the top right. Yeah, I was just tucked into my corner up here, just trying to stay alive. And that was it. That was all it was. Okay. Let's actually check money made that game, because I managed to make 600,000 on world, about 43,000 off world. Obviously, I would have had more off world had the game actually completed itself, and I would have had more on world if I hadn't built those off worlds in the expectation the game was going to go much longer. Cubes made a similar amount on world, so we managed to make close to the same amount Cubes did. Nixon made far, far, far less. And this is what I'm kind of talking about, is this idea that Nixon was really stalling out pretty heavily. And then he ended up buying Offworlds, which was probably a mistake that game, because Offworlds weren't all that good, and it had to go super late for Offworlds to be worthwhile. But Nixon was in this position where he was buying large amounts of carbon. Some of that was for Offworlds, but others was going to be for like chems, and he didn't quite have the carbon production. Maybe instead of, I don't know who nuked my silicon. Let's check on that. It wasn't Nixon. It wasn't Cubes. So Bullfighter nuked my silicon, apparently, and or a computer. But I don't know what you guys could have done. Like, there was a small enough amount of carbon available that game, from what I could tell, that nuking something like this carbon tile could have seriously put the hurt on the opponent, since this carbon tile was taken at some point. Small things like that. And then I took this carbon, which makes this carbon far more nukeable as well, right? You guys, I don't know. You guys also just got locked into a fight with each other, and unfortunately, sometimes, if 2 leaders get locked completely into a fight with each other and neither of them can finish it, then they both just die. And that's more or less what happened that game. Yeah, and maybe fighting for carbon scrubbing is part of what hurts so much, because what happened was, like, the reason that I didn't defend myself much for the carbon scrubbing was I knew I wasn't much of a threat. And so either you can stop me and I don't get carbon scrubbing, and that hurts, right? But it also hurts you, and you were the leader. So I was like, whatever, spend your black market on me, because what that ends up doing is making it so that you can't finish off Nixon, and Nixon has an easier time finishing off you. And so you guys just get stuck in this fight for so long, just hitting each other back and forth, because neither of you was pushing on your actual opponent, because you're only 2 opponents. Each of you only had 1 opponent, each other, right? So that's where your focus needed to be, was on killing Nixon, instead of being like, man, I need to get carbon scrubbing. Because let's see, if you get Nixon, for example, then you've got his sources of carbon. He's got a 3 and a 2 right here and a 1 right here. There might be something under this as well. I don't really know. Probably is, given that's where the Offworld is placed. You used 7K on the market, but you also used 1 full minute of black market time. And so how could that black market time have been committed? Not the money. Not the money, but the time that you spent doing that. That's what matters. Because we were at that mid-game stage where realistically, as a scavenger, once you're making a significant amount of money and going for a kill, you should probably be hitting that kill every 30 seconds with a black market attack. Every 30 seconds. Just pounding away at them. Or buying up a goon squad to defend your powerful production, right? That's what you should be doing if you're going for a kill on somebody. Because once again, if you don't, you just get locked into this one battle and some guy comes in, cleans up 2 small players, and the game's over. So it's the time cost rather than the money cost. Yeah, this is also a thing. It's like both of you were scavenger players, and I did more black market than you did that game. But I wanted to kill you. This is before Nixon went for me. Was it? I know it was pretty early on that we went for that, but I thought you two had already started. Like, the stock buying started pretty fast, and regardless, no matter when this starting to kill each other happened, it was very clear very early on that one of you should kill the other, and then that person wins the game if they can pull it off quickly. Yeah, I saw that happening. And man, I was having some debt trouble for a while, but I managed to buy up my own stock and I was okay. It's just a bit of a balance that you got to do. 1 steel short, nanotech, superconductor, thinking machines, and virtual reality. Yeah, that was all fine. Anyways, it was an interesting little game. Bullfighter, by the way, guys, like, this kind of strategy can work, because this is what Bullfighter's done both times, is when he founded, he just immediately put down 3 farms. It's like his one strategy, and this is the downside to having only one strategy in this game. He had to find a spot where he could do this. Was he just put down 3 farms, and then just made food, and then tries to buy somebody off of just making food, and that's it? Go 1 more. I can do 1 more, I guess. As long as we get people quickly, I'll go 1 more. But this will work better in an 8-man game, but in like a 4 to 6-man game, it's not going to work near so well. Because you're just not going to make enough money off of it because food's not going to go up in price as much. So you have to be really careful with that kind of thing. I'll create a 6-man. Tell you what, if the 6-man